Today I am very excited to sit down and talk with an actor and acting coach who I have admired for years. He made his Broadway debut in George C. Wolfe's The Wild Party, and he was in Jim Sheridan's wonderful film In America. And on television you may have seen him in 24, CSI Miami, and as a very memorable character on The Dave Chappelle Show. A venerable Shakespearean actor, he played Angelo in Measure for Measure, Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet, and was a standout as Philip the Bastard in King John. A terrific performance. He was trained at the University of Washington Professional Actor Training Program, and since then has traveled far and wide teaching privately as well as workshops in high schools and college drama programs. He runs the Rene Millan Acting Studio, where he coaches beginning actors and seasoned professionals alike. I'm very excited for this conversation with Rene Millan. Thank you for coming, Rene.
Appreciate it. That was pretty incredible. And I don't believe I actually did all that.
Amazing, huh? When you look back at it. So when you're working with beginning actors, is there a common problem or issue that beginning actors have that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that happens with a lot of actors that are just starting, that people that are just trying to find themselves, trying to find their voice, trying to find what it is they do. They have a lot of issues with focus, mm-hmm. and a lot of issues with there's a disconnect between the brain and the rest of the body. I have a friend of mine that says that especially kids like in 7th grade, they have no bones. They just kind of flail around and they just have absolutely no control over their body. And what I try to teach young actors is to find where they are, find how they can become more focused.
So it's kind of an awareness.
An absolute awareness of not only their own bodies, but of everything around them and their surroundings. Mm-hmm. And how do you find that stillness in what we call, in what I call a explosive stillness, uh-huh. Starting from a neutral place.
And how do you help them? What's the process that allows you to give them that awareness, that sense of focus and stillness?
Well, a lot of what I do, I mean, my training comes from, it really comes from Japan. It comes from Japanese techniques. I've been a martial artist since I was 17 years old. I have a black belt in Shotokan karate, and I moved on and I studied a lot of different
physical disciplines. A
lot of physical disciplines, mm-hmm. with whether it be sensu kung fu or Indonesian silat or and even Muay Thai kickboxing. But what I really found for me is the core of my own process is what I learned starting in graduate school, which is the Suzuki method of actor training, and which is a method. Basically, when you look at it, it almost seems like a martial art for an actor. A lot of different exercises that basically they try to get an actor off center. Mm-hmm.
Do you mean the physical discipline?
The physical discipline tries to take the actor and move them off of their center of gravity, uh-huh. where the actor then has to find, how do I keep this center?
Right.
Even if I'm doing these really rigorous movement, mm-hmm.
These
rigorous exercises, while I'm breathing heavy, how can I? So the actor learns how to control their own body. Find that sense of center, find that sense of balance, and the energy is always going out. The energy is always out to whoever it is that we're listening to, mm-hmm. And it goes out to the rest of their ensemble. It goes out to the audience. So basically an actor then can have their back to the audience, but they're still telling the story. Right. Their energy is still radiating back.
I sometimes felt as though and it seems a little similar, some similarities mm-hmm. to Meisner, which is out away from you and focusing on the other character. That I found that there's a sense sometimes of when you're speaking to another character as though you're speaking to the entire room through that other character.
Yeah.
Is that similar to what?
It's basically the idea is that your focus is on the other person. Always. Your focus is always out towards the other person. And the audience is witnessing this thing that's happening for the very first time. As Tadashi Suzuki would say, the gods are witnessing what is happening between these two people. But your energy is always out.
Yeah. It feels like sometimes when you see that kind of great performance that it's as though the actor is releasing his soul. Yeah. And we're getting it. Yeah. It's extraordinary.
And you see that you see that in the theater where you can be in the very, and basically it's what we call presence as well. And that's one thing I try to teach, especially with young actors. They have the dancing feet syndrome, where they don't know how to stand still. They don't know what stillness is. They hear it all the time from a lot of teachers or a lot of directors that stillness is power. But these teachers and directors don't necessarily know how to go about teaching what that is. And I actually do teach people what that really is and how to be still. It's what Ben Kingsley started. What I've heard him say. It's zero. It's absolute zero.
Do you know there was an actor I worked with some time ago who used to call that, what his term was, it was called dropping out. To just go to a place where you are at zero. And I see him perform and do it in the middle of a performance. You didn't know he was doing it, but because I worked with him, I knew what some of what he was attempting on stage, and it gave an extraordinary sense of, as you could say, power to the actor.
You just don't know where they're going to go next. Yeah. You just don't know where they're going to. They can go anywhere. They can, and that's the idea behind this, is that every movement happens because it comes from a much deeper place. It doesn't come from a place of, I don't know what to do, I'm using my hands, I'm doing the forklift acting, It comes from a much deeper place. You move because you have to. You absolutely have no other choice but to move. And that is what your impulse is telling you.
Really taking it out of the brain.
Absolutely. It's taking it out of the brain, but also connecting the brain to the body. Right. Because I think what happens is that there is a real disconnect between the brain and the body, where we as actors sometimes, and especially young actors want to, they want to do something. It's all so very cerebral and so psychological. We all just, we all want to feel something. And feelings are great. And this is one thing I tell my young students. Feelings are fantastic. Emotions are, we want them. We absolutely want to access emotions. We want to be available. Right. But the point of a scene, if you and I are doing a scene, is not for me to, when do I start crying now? I'm going to laugh like this. It's about
what it's about.
It's about you. It's never about me. If I'm doing a scene with you, it's never about me. It's about you. What do I want from you? Right. And it's not about how I'm feeling right now. It's about what I'm wanting. It's objective and action. This is what I want. How am I going to get it?
And in that is kind of the basic theme of what that moment is about, in relationship to the play. Right, right. That's a wonderful.
And so for me to start from a place of just still, I'm here. For me, and my heart rate is low, and for me that means that I'm available to you or to my scene partner, or whoever my scene partners happen to be. It could be a group of people if I'm doing a soliloquy. And I'm available to that. I'm open to that. So whatever emotion happens, it's secondary. It's going to happen if I'm playing that. If I'm putting my focus all out on you or on whoever it is I'm talking to, whoever my scene partner happens to be, I'm available for them. Yeah. And I'm listening. I'm actually listening to them. And I listen to them the way, and we listen, the way human beings listen. They're talking, and I'm taking in their words. I'm looking at how the glare on the glasses. I'm looking at the comb of the hair. I mean, that's how we listen.
Yeah. I always, not always, but I've thought for a long time that one of the gifts that an actor has is an empathetic response to the world. And what you're saying really kind of supports that, because it is about the other person.
Yeah.
It's about the world. It's about their response to the world.
Right.
And it's outside themselves. It's not kind of picking lint out of your belly button.
No, I agree. As a lot of actors, a lot of us, we want to create three-dimensional characters.
Life.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I do try to teach my students. How do we create characters that are different from us?
Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Different characterizations.
For me, it's about starting from this place of zero. I start from a place of stillness, and some characters are much more difficult to get right away. I've played characters where it just nothing is happening. I'm not sure where I'm going, and then finally one day it just kind of clicks, and it just works.
So what do you think makes for a successful actor?
A lot of commitment for one, a lot of commitment, but I think it's also, one thing I do teach my young actors is I teach them that you can have stars in your eyes for days and days, and that could be the ultimate goal for a lot of people, is the red carpet and the fancy car and the going out and the partying and the living the lifestyle of a celebrity, having people with cameras following you around all the time. And for a lot of young people, that's a real draw. That's really tempting to want that. And if you want that, I'm not going to say you shouldn't go for that. But if you're going to go for that, at least be good. Be a good actor.
Be good enough to deserve it.
Exactly. And so what that means is that knowing that what you're doing as an actor is an art form, and having respect for the art form. There's a craft to it.
Yeah.
It's like woodwork, or it's like working with metal. You're an artist. And
so if the craft comes to a place, if you get the craft to the point where then there's the possibility of art.
Yeah.
So the craft is where the work really takes place.
Absolutely. The thing is, and any casting director, I believe, any casting director, any director, anybody, whether it's in the theater or whether it's in the film, any director, any casting director is going to see who has quote-unquote chops.
Right.
And that's what we tend to call that. They have chops.
Right. You can see it right away.
That somebody that is able to create a character that's different from themselves, that is able to have a moment and moments of truth, of absolute truth in what it is they're playing. Because in one scene or in one take or in a play, there's millions of different ways to play one moment. And a good director and a good casting director is going to know whether they have what it takes to trust them. I mean, because that's what it's about as well. A director or a casting director, they're trusting, when they go on to cast, they're trusting you as the actor, that you're going to be able to deliver when you get onto the set, or when you get onto, when you get onto the stage, or when you get into the rehearsal room.
So Rene, the difference between working on stage in a theater and working in front of a camera,
right?
When you're teaching, how do you approach those differences, and what are the differences?
It's funny because theater, when you're working in a theater and then in front of the camera, they're absolutely two different animals in so many different ways. Theater, you get the opportunity to rehearse for a month, maybe 2 months, a month and a half, and the work that you do on the stage, you have to reach the back row. You have to with the voice, with your instrument, reach the back row. The thing is, and so what the physical techniques that I teach can apply very well to that, for that presence, to be able to hit the back rope. But one thing that really helps with the physical techniques that I use, incorporating the Suzuki method, is that same stillness, that same ability to reach far, even past the camera, comes really handy. You know, it can be a shot where you're only getting, you know, probably up to here, just you know, up to half of your torso and up, and which is going to require you to be very still.
So the technique translates from the stage to the camera? To the camera,
absolutely. Because you use that stillness, you use that ability to create a character that is efficient in their movement. You only use the amount of energy required to pick up a pen or to pick up a glass. The camera is going to see all of that. The camera is going to catch all of that. And if your focus is on that other person, if your presence is such, your stillness is such that your energy is going out, your energy is going to go right through that camera and hit whoever it is, you know, like a freight train.
So the technique that you teach is viable for stage work
Absolutely.
And viable for work in front of the camera.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. And using these physical techniques will only help. They will only help to create that person who is very focused, very concentrated, and who is moving with intention. And the camera will catch those subtleties.
The camera will pick up.
The camera will pick up what it is you're thinking, because that's what we do as human beings. We think. You think the thoughts of the character. You think the thoughts, and the camera will catch that in the eyes, and in the rest of your body, because you are so grounded.
Fascinating. Well, you know, I can't wait to see your next movie.
I can't either.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Rene, and it's really terrific that you want to share the techniques you've learned with other people. It shows such a love of the craft.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just Suzuki method. I also incorporate so many other. I mean, that now acting has become so much about. It's not just Stanislavski. It's Adler, and it's Meisner,
Right.
and it's Grotowski, and it's Chekhov, and there's so many different people that have put their stamp on this art form that we study and that we love, and I incorporate that as well. Always the base of it, though, the foundation is always this physical foundation where we can move from and go through space.
You know, there was a teacher named Sonia Moore who taught the method of physical actions, I think it was, and she had worked with Stanislavski. And there's a number of different disciplines to go to develop the technique that's going to allow you to express your talents in the best possible way.
And this is what I teach is just something that I think can help.
Yeah. That's wonderful, Rene.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary actor, extraordinary teacher, Rene Millan. Rene, where can people find you?
You can find me at my website, www.renemillan.com, and you can see my website. You can see what I've done in my career. You can contact me through that on my contact page there, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who would like to study with me.
Fabulous, Rene. Thanks. Really, thank you very much.
I appreciate
it. It's
just
wonderful to speak with somebody who has extended themselves into their craft to the point of making it an art.
Well, I love teaching, so thank
Great.
you.
That's wonderful. So, everybody, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. This is Peter Alzado, and until next time.